Three, two, one. There we go. So I put the base together first to see how the technology of these press fits work, just to get a feel of how all the tongue and grooves go. But also, as I'm building, I'll have a place to set the model while it's a work in progress. I'm not caring that I got glue all over this. I'm only using this for the sake of the build, because when the model's finished, I'm going to be hanging it up. Hanging it so that it will be flying in my office. All right, so there's the base. Not bad. Fairly easy. Going to be a little messy with the glue, I think. All right, so the Razor Crest has these stripes, and they're there, but I wanted to make them pop a little more, so I think I'm going to add a little bit of extra paint on here just to make these pop just a little bit more. Not a lot. I'm not going to repaint the whole thing, but I'm just going to add a little paint here and there. So I'm just going to kind of tape these sections off a little bit at a time, just one section at a time, just to mask them off a little bit and just give me a little extra. I don't know. I just think the color needs to pop a little more. Everything's kind of subdued. The whole, the ship is metallic. It's like an aluminum metallic looking. So I just want to see a little bit more of that color. All right, so I got a little tray. I got some acrylic paint. I got some King's Gold. It's sort of a kind of a rustic yellow. And just need a tiny bit. And I'm going to go ahead and just grab some. I got a nice, one of my favorite brushes, which is all mangled, so I can get a nice, so this will just give me just a little extra color. Not a lot, just a touch. It'll make it pop just a little more. And again, I'm not going to be too severe about getting a lot of paint. So I just want a little bit just to make it pop a little bit more. All right, there we go. And then we'll take tape off. Hopefully tape won't peel up the print. All right, it'll look good. Fine. All right, see, already it kind of makes a difference. Hard to see, but makes a little bit of a difference. The original print shows through. All the grid lines of the ship show through, so I'm not losing any of that detail. All right, so let's let that one dry. And a little bit of paint. And the great thing about this Star Wars stuff is that, everything's aged, so any paint markings, anything, they're not perfect. So this works out fine. So I can get kind of blotchy, get that blotchy paint, like some of it's peeled up and damaged. But again, I just wanted to do just a little extra color. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these, and no, we don't need to see that. All right, so those pieces are painted. A little extra yellow, that sort of crazy kind of goldish color on those pieces. So, it's a subtle fix that'll make me happy. And that's all that matters. All right, so let's go ahead and back to the build. Some of these are not perforated all the way through, so I don't want to tear up. Tricky. Goodness gracious. All right. There's one. Not the cleanest break. One and number two. I can see we're just getting started with the build, and I can see already where some of the problems will be. It'll be in separating these pieces cleanly. There's another one. I mean, the engineering on this is amazing. Somebody had to figure all this out, but it does make it a challenge, especially with a mass-produced piece like this, where there's thousands of these out there. Not everyone's going to come out perfect. All right, number one and number two. On the nose here. Up, I think we need a little glue. It's a loose fit, so let's throw a little glue. All right, here we go. Second time. Perfect. Okay. So it's going to go like that, and then 11. Snug fit, but a little glue never hurts. All right, so let's go with these guys here. I gotta keep reminding myself that it's still paper, no matter how rigid it feels, it's still paper. Yeah, a little bit of glue there is going to help a lot. There we go. Yeah, so maybe when it's done, so that's the window. Front window, so maybe like a piece of cellophane over that and then paint it black just to smooth it out so it's not, doesn't have that crease. I don't care about the ribs on the side. The framing, that'll work. All right, moving right along. 43, 53. All right, these ones aren't going to fit. They don't want to go in. Don't want to force them. But I can tell they're like right there. Holy cow. I consider myself a pretty good model builder. But man, this thing is a pain. Like half of the peg and groove slots don't fit, and I got to go in and kind of nip them out and use a little extra glue. And you know, it's like you can't tell, but it's like it doesn't line up here at the bottom. So if one little piece of the paper is bent or misaligned, then nothing fits properly. So there's going to be, so I've been making little modifications along the way, cutting tabs and making new tabs and gluing. But anyway, here's where we are so far. This is sort of like the hull of it, and we've got the front going here and the bottom's coming along. So you can see some of these tabs and some of that splashy glue that I got all over the place. But, you know, ultimately, I just wanted this to have something to build, obviously. But also, it's going to hang in my office, like up in the ceiling, and from a distance, 5 or 6 feet, it's still going to look pretty good. So, there we go. All right, on to the next steps. All right, so here's where we are so far. So I did a lot of this build off camera because most of the parts don't fit. So I had to do a lot of really frustrating modifications and cutting and re-gluing and stuff. But here's where we are so far. And let me move that little stand out. So this is the main body of our Razor Crest. It's looking okay. Like I said, this is going to be hanging. I'm going to be hanging this up. So from a distance, it'll look pretty good. And I went and got I got some of my silver tape. And I think I'm going to cut some little panels. So parts of it will be sort of that shiny metallic like it is in the show, because the overall ship in the show is that metallic color. So I think if I just did, like little spots here and there, I'll get the idea that parts of it are, that the whole ship is kind of, but it's pretty solid. I used a lot more glue than the instructions suggest. Only because so many of these parts, so many of the tabs and grooves didn't fit. So, anyway, the yellow on the side looks a little better. I almost wish now that I'd gone a little lighter color, but so it would show up a little more. The guns on the front are like the next step, and they're flat. So I think I'm going to get some plastic dowels and do some round guns. But anyway, there we go. That's it so far. I'm glad I built this stand first, because as I'm building, I can set him up, set the Razor Crest right up like that. So it's looking pretty good. All right, let's continue on. When I went back to shooting, I lost my audio. So I'm going to do a little voiceover here. So working on the engines, they were probably the hardest part of this model to put together. There were a lot of overlapping, sort of curved parts and a lot of pegs. Trying to get those aligned, I ended up cutting most of the pegs and just doing a little extra tacky glue on them. I'm putting like here I am putting the bottom edge rail on engine number 1. Again, a lot of pegs didn't line up, so you can see I'm having a little trouble here putting these pegs in. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how this model came out. I did have a lot of trouble with the parts, and I put 2 of these engines together off camera. Here I am just test fitting one of the engines just to see how it's going to fit. I'm going to do some extra modifications on the engines, so I'm not going to glue them in right away. Test fitting the second engine in, and overall it looks pretty good. You can see some of those silver tape areas that I added. Just gives an extra little dimension, a little shine. So here's a shot of how this model looks nearly complete. I haven't done the guns yet at this point. I'm going to custom build some guns. This total build maybe about 6 hours, and I did shoot a lot of video and did a lot of building off camera. And I woke up early the next morning and scratch built some guns, which I'm a lot more happy with. And here's a couple of shots of the finished model, and I'm pretty happy.